If stores, offices, or hugs keep you sidelined, you're in the right place. For decades, we've helped people with multiple chemical sensitivity raise their tolerance thresholds and rejoin life. My goal today is practical and hopeful, and I'm going to explain why tiny exposures hit hard, show how we measure progress, and outline a personal detoxination approach that respects sensitive individuals. Here are my 4 points. First, a clear definition of MCS through the toxicant-induced loss of tolerance or TILT model of initiation, then low-dose triggering. Second, how environmental exposures load the system. Third, why mainstream medicine struggles to help and what to do instead. Fourth, a step-by-step detoxination roadmap with realistic expectations and tools you can use. According to some experts, MCS is a clinical pattern, multi-system symptoms provoked by very small diverse exposures, such as fragrances, exhaust, cleaning products, and the like, that may improve with avoidance. The TILT model explains it in 2 stages. A major exposure resets tolerance, and afterward, tiny inputs trigger symptoms across systems. There's no single blood test. Clinicians rely on history, reproducibility, and standardized inventories from testing to track change. We prefer to think of it as a vacuum cleaner with a full dustbin. When the canister is full, the vacuum cleaner no longer functions as designed. Our bodies can likewise accumulate lipophilic toxins in fat and membranes, and as total load rises, your threshold drops. So a whiff of perfume or going anywhere near a laundry aisle can hit your tipping point. The fix isn't to blame the scents, it's to empty the canister and lower that tipping point to tolerable levels. MCS dwells between medical specialties and lacks a quick diagnostic, so the medical system underserves it. Insurers want short visits and single drug fixes, definitions vary, and legal or compensation worries muddy the waters. None of that means your experience isn't real. It means we need a practical plan. Validate the exposure response history, measure with breezy-keezy, reduce total load, and track function over time. This field has a lineage. Dr. Throne Randolph mapped environmental patterns and elimination strategies. Dr. William Ray built large clinical programs and published early studies. Dr. Claudia Miller and Dr. Nicholas Ashford gave us the TILT framework and the Keezy Breezy tools. And Dr. David Root, my father, applied a niacin exercise and sauna regimen to chemically injured workers and MCS patients starting in the 1980s, reporting consistent functional gains. MCS is largely invisible and fluctuates, so disbelief or skepticism is all too common. Meanwhile, everyday places or activities like stores, cars, offices, even hugs become minefields. People withdraw, change jobs, and relocate just to breathe. The first therapeutic step is validation. The second is giving you literature and numbers so you can show loved ones what helps and why. This is what many with chronic conditions like MCS and gadolinium toxicity hear from practitioners, loved ones, friends, and associates who don't see any physical signs, rather a normal-looking person who's quietly suffering in pain from the condition and the disbelief. Many with MCS are slow detoxers. We never push you through. We start with preparation steps such as regular bowel movements, opening bile lymph systems, ensuring sweat readiness, stabilizing sleep, and proper hydration. Then we titrate niacin, heat, and session length gently, often using split sessions and rest days to sweat most of the toxic burden out. We also capture what we mobilize with binders and keep electrolytes, oils, and nutrients balanced. I work one-on-one on pacing, so progress is real and durable. There are objective tools you can use yourself. We screen with the 3-item breezy. If any yes, we move to the Keezy, the 50-item inventory that scores symptoms, chemical, and other intolerances, and life impact. Do it online with the link I've provided in the video description. Then repeat after these key steps, following a fragrance-free plan, remediation, and after a detoxination round. These scores become your before and after proof for family and clinicians. Next, I'll show you the breezy questions. Here are the 3 questions from the Hoffman's Brief Environmental Exposure and Sensitivity Inventory, or breezy. Do you feel sick when you are exposed to tobacco smoke, certain fragrances, nail polish, or remover? engine exhaust, gasoline, air fresheners, pesticides, paint or thinner, fresh tar or asphalt, cleaning supplies, new carpet or furnishings. And by sick, we mean headache, difficulty thinking, difficulty breathing, weakness, dizziness, or upset stomach. Are you able to tolerate or do you have adverse or allergic reactions to any drugs or medications, such as antibiotics, anesthetics, pain relievers, contrast dye, vaccines, or birth control pills? Or to an implant, prosthesis, contraceptive, chemical, or device, or other medical, surgical, dental materials or procedure? Are you unable to tolerate or do you have adverse reactions to any foods such as dairy products, wheat, corn, eggs, caffeine, alcoholic beverages, or food additives such as MSG or food dye? If you answer yes to any question, take the quick environmental exposure and sensitivity inventory or KESI and share the results with your doctor. The link will be provided in the description. Detoxination is built on a simple objective: lower body burden to raise tolerance. We use nicotinic acid, not for the flesh as many think, but for its predictable rebound lipolysis, which mobilizes fat-stored toxins. Light exercise and heat therapy improve circulation and drive sebum-rich sweating, while the liver and the bile do their part. Timed binders catch what's mobilized, and replenishing water, electrolytes, essential fats, and micronutrients protect stability. The pace is personal, data-guided, and adjustable. Dr. Theron Randolph has suggested that the intermittent release of fat-stored toxins may explain why a significant proportion of chemically susceptible patients do poorly even when they manage to control their environment and minimize chemical exposures. The endogenous chemicals seem to be causing acute reactions, which are both confusing and frustrating to the person who is consistently watching his or her exogenous exposures. He recommends the optimum treatment for patients found to be reacting to endogenous chemical exposure is detoxification therapy aimed at reducing levels of fat-stored chemicals. Detoxination is the most clinically documented regimen of its kind for lowering body burden in chemically injured and MCS populations. Here's the sequence. First, an individualized niacin dose based on body mass to trigger mobilization. Second, brief aerobic exercise to raise circulation. Third, far infrared sauna cycles with cool-down breaks to support dermal elimination. Fourth, capture and support with binders, hydration, electrolytes, and supplements. We track daily so we can advance when stable or hold when your body needs it. In 1988, as part of a continuing education program, my father presented to the Roseville Hospital nursing staff, where he reported treating roughly 120 MCS cases using this approach, with typical self-reported improvement ranging from about 30% to 70 to 80%, alongside reduced trigger reactivity. Different people progress at different speeds, but the trend we look for is a rising threshold and more yes moments in daily life. So think of this as rehab you can actually follow. First, there's intake. We start with a quick health history and exposure timeline, run the breezy, set a baseline KESI, and pick 1 to 3 goals you care most about. Then there's prep. We get you and your space ready. So fragrance-free plans, steady hydration and electrolytes, daily bowel routine, smart binder timing away from meds and supplements, and a symptom diary. Then there's the program. So day by day, we run the sequence: niacin for rebound lipolysis, light exercise, graded heat, capture and support, pacing everything to how you're doing. Then there's discharge. We repeat the KESI, mark the functional wins, and map a maintenance plan, including exactly what to do on flare days. If needed, we can cycle program and discharge again for another gentle round, same pacing, same tracking, building your gains step by step. Detoxination is powerful, but when MCS is involved, it becomes critical to do this right. You need someone who understands the science, the pitfalls, and the safest path forward. That's where my remote detox coaching comes in. When you work with me, you're not just buying a program, you're gaining a guide who walks with you every step of the way. Here's what's included: a step-by-step video tutorial course to master the process, the Detoxination Protocol Guidebook with clear, detailed instructions, my personal guidance in acquiring the exact consumables you'll need, a live training session to ensure you know how to run the protocol correctly, a personalized workbook tailored to your unique health history, unlimited support and coaching. You'll never be left with questions unanswered. Ongoing guidance through every program round, start to finish. And this is not just about detoxing, it's about doing it safely, effectively, and with the right support. With my coaching, you'll know exactly what to expect, what to look out for, and how to adjust if a challenge arises. You don't have to face this alone. With my coaching, you'll have a partner in your recovery. This is an ad I ran many years ago, but I've always felt it's the best analogy for the breakdown of health. As we close, I want you to know that I'm very accessible. If you're struggling with MCS or if you're simply unsure where to begin, let's talk. You can schedule a complimentary Zoom consultation with me at heal.me/detox. Before we meet, you'll fill out a short health history questionnaire so I can get a clear picture of your situation. It would also help to have the Keezy results as well. During our meeting, we'll discuss your case in detail, answer any questions you may have, and if you're considering purchasing a sauna, which I strongly recommend, I'll address your specific sauna-related concerns as well. This consultation is a safe, no pressure space where we can determine your next steps. I want you to feel supported, heard, and confident that there is a path forward. So thanks for being here, and let's go ahead and stop screen sharing and open the floor for your questions.
I can start us off.
Sure.
Are you seeing exacerbation or worsening of MCS in the COVID era?
Oh gosh, yes. Yes. Now, what's interesting though is that I would say that a lot of the people who were affected by the COVID era were already at the tipping point, and they probably knew it. But I'm seeing a lot more people coming to me because of that era. Yeah.
Interesting. I think that's what happened with me. I'd never had symptoms of chemical sensitivity, and then got COVID a couple years ago, and mold and stuff kind of got unmasked, and a little later on I started developing chemical sensitivity.
Okay. Yeah, the tipping point, that's what typically happens.
Gotcha.
In fact, my father used to refer to it as the straw that broke the camel's back, but tipping point's easier to say.
That's what it has felt like for me. And I'm now trying to desperately get ahead of it because chemical sensitivity is miserable to live with.
Yeah, I can totally imagine what it would be like. I have not had any of those symptoms, but I work with so many people. I feel like I really do understand. It's the same that I've experienced with the gadolinium issue. The signs aren't obvious to the people around them. So the frustration, the disappointment, the anger, just hopelessness is something that I see, and I just want people to understand that this program is so new to the public as of 2019, but it has definitely been around for now we're 43 years. So it's something that we've seen this do amazing stuff. And things that we didn't even expect. I'll give you the example of like endometriosis. I had no idea that we could reverse, a condition like that. But there's also a lot of these conditions that we are now, aware how the environmental toxicity problem is the major driver.
Interesting. So like historically, with mold becoming such like a hot topic in functional medicine the last 5-10 years, I imagine 30, 40 years ago when you started treating MCS, you guys knew less about mold probably and still found success.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, MCS, definitely we were treating as far back as the early 80s. And that presentation my father did in 1988 was actually part of the nurses continuing education program. And unfortunately, there wasn't really any way to advance that back then, as far as the 5-hour a day program, and the fact that it was a very, very brutal period of time when we were putting people through 5 hours of program. Now we're down to basically 75 total minutes of sauna, and that's with the infrared saunas, of course. But reducing the time commitment and understanding better how the niacin was needed for the program, because everybody did think it was the flush. Fortunately, my father was smart enough to look and see that it was actually the rebound lipolysis.
Interesting. Thank you. I'll let someone else.
Thank you, Eric.
I have a question, Daniel. This is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hey, So I'm interested in the mold neurotoxicity in terms of how it affects the brain.
Mhm.
As we kind of know, the brain is full of a lot of triglyceride fats, all that. Um, I've been reading that some of the mold toxins can actually affect the blood-brain barrier, and the molds actually get into the brain tissue. When you do a detox protocol like this with niacin using infrared light, I'm curious if you can explain your understanding of how the infrared light technology penetrates or even gets into the brain tissue, or what mechanism of action happens to detox the brain.
Great questions. So let's start with the blood-brain barrier, which is very compromised in individuals in this day and age. Literally, the blood-brain barrier is not protecting like people think it does. We're getting too many things passing through it, and it's so compromised that it's not even worth considering it like a surprise that something's getting through that barrier. But the second thing is that sauna is not going to, in fact, let's talk about infrared light, because when we're talking far infrared, it's invisible to start with, and it's more about how it affects or vibrationally impacts the water molecules up to 1.5 inches deep under the skin. So the way that far infrared works is those long waves, which are the key indicator for far infrared, are going to penetrate about 1.5 inches deep under the skin, and they're going to resonate with the water molecules in the cells, which produces the heat. Now, it's not like a microwave oven, but that's the closest analogy we can come up with. That's non-ionizing radiation. So when you go outside into the sun and you start to feel the warmth, you're getting a resonance with the sun, and it's about 9.4 microns. So these far infrared saunas are tuned to between 6 and 12 microns in order to cover that range. But the optimal one is 9.4 microns. And so the saunas, all the manufacturers know this, that produce the far infrared saunas. So they tune those saunas to the right frequencies. Now, the thing is that when it comes to the brain in the sauna, you're not really getting much penetration of the far infrared into the brain matter because of the skull. And that's not really an issue, because the way the niacin is used on the protocol, like I said, it's not necessarily the flush that matters, although there's practical value there, but it's actually how rebound lipolysis liberates toxins from fat. So the brain is 60 to 70% adipose, or excuse me, fat, but it's not all adipose tissues. So a lot of these toxins are storing in mostly the fat stores that are adipose fat. And also there's a lipophilic internal barrier in the cell membranes. So you have this lipid bilayer where they're lipophilic on the interior and hydrophilic on the exterior. So toxins can store in cell membranes. Doesn't matter if it's adipose tissue. So the thing is that when you're in the or on our detoxination program, we're liberating toxins from the adipose tissues with rebound lipolysis, getting them back into circulation so that they can then flow through the bloodstream out of the head into the body, so that when you're in the sauna, you'll be able to sweat them out. Also, we use the binders to clean up the blood. So we basically are actually filtering bile acids that are coming from the liver, because toxins that the liver cannot break down are getting brought back into the small intestine in order to be eliminated through your feces. But unfortunately, they tend to just reabsorb back into the tissues. So we use zeolite as our #1 binder, and to make sure that we filter those bile acids. So the brain is getting detoxed, but really we're affecting the entire body and making sure that all the different fat compartments are releasing their toxins. And this is why it's typically a 30-day program. So yeah, we're very familiar with this program much better than we did in the early days. There's been so much science to come out and show us, the far infrared sauna is doing a much better job of producing the kind of sweat we need, like sebaceous sweat, and the binders. We never used those in the past. Now we've become very, very educated and experienced using binders, and I certainly wouldn't go through this program without zeolite. But I did back in 1986, and I can tell you it was horrible. But I hope that answered the question, Brian. So,
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that.
Any follow-up?
I guess one thought that occurred while you were talking about that is I've had a little experience with hyperoxygenation as terms of trying to help the metabolism of the cell. I know of a protocol where you kind of wear a mask and breathe in not 100%, but close to 100% oxygen and engage in vigorous activity for about 10 to 15 minutes, doing some kind of aerobic exercise to increase kind of oxygenation in the blood system.
Mhm.
Heard or read anything about that in terms of helping detox or metabolism recovery?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm very familiar with it. And the thing is that it's something that you can do alongside our program, but the way our mechanism of action works is a lot different and more effective, if you ask me. But we've been studying this for 36 years clinically. I've been doing this since 2019, bringing it to the public. I've not been able to do studies since I brought it to the public, but the thing is that we've been aware of that. It's like a VO2 max type program. The actual name of it is slipping my mind right now, but I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think it's a great adjunct to what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks for the follow-up on that topic. I was kind of interested in that. So, thanks.
Yes, you're welcome. And I'd like to acknowledge Anita Thompson there. Just completed another round. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm
Recovering.
really good. I've got a lot of. Am I muted? Am I muted?
No, you're fine.
Okay. I've got a lot of energy and I'm feeling great. But I had the pressure I have behind my eyes is still there, and I'd had a scan MRI the other day, and I got myself into not very popular because I said I am not having the gadolinium, and so it was quite. It was hard to do because they said, well, we can't read the X-rays if you're not going to have that. I said, I'm not having it. It's a heavy metal. I'm not having it in my brain. Thank you very much. So,
yeah. If people are concerned or wondering what we're talking about, the last episode we did, I believe, was the gadolinium one. There's one of the zoom-ins that we've done that is based on the contrast agent. So if you want to look for that on our Get Detoxinated YouTube channel, you can learn more about it. But yes, I'm glad you did get out of having the contrast dye. With AI today, they can certainly read those without the contrast.
Of course they can. Yeah, of course they can. Yeah. So thank you.
Yes,
Daniel.
thank you. All right. Anybody else would like to unmute?
I have a question. I plan on starting the protocol pretty soon. But right now I'm kind of doing I'm doing the sauna and the zeolite and all that stuff. Before the niacin comes. I'm kind of scared because I'm already having like detox reactions and I'm like clearing my pathways and stuff. What adding the niacin, how much more, I guess, effective or intense will it be versus not taking it, just doing like the sauna?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if you're already experiencing reactions just doing sauna at this point, then get yourself more acclimated to the sauna first, and make sure you're doing the binders. And I would suggest strongly the electrolytes and staying hydrated. But get used to doing the sauna because some people do need a much slower time. And I don't recall if we talked about doing the gut train reset, or doing the opening the detox pathways using the protocols that I've put together. Did you actually start with those?
No, is that in the book?
So these are additional things that are available to you, and there's a couple of places that you can find them. The Gut Train Reset is in my online shop. I'm having to charge $4.99 for it because I need, in order for me to be able to recommend the products that are in there, which are from the microbiome labs, you need to be a client. I just felt that it would be safer if I charge $4.99 for the product, for the information, and that way you're a client, and it covers my practitioner basis. So anyway, the other one is something that is available both in my Facebook group, and I believe I've already added it to my members section of the website. And if I haven't, I need to do that after this episode. But bottom line there is those two protocols are newer than the second edition's publication, so you can get those and get started on helping your body to prepare better for a full program like this.
Okay, so you're saying I guess I didn't get a number of is it because I think I saw one of your videos said it was like 2 or 3 times more intense to add the niacin protocol in. Was that correct?
Well, yeah. So what I'm saying there is that niacin, when properly dosed and timed, will increase the liberation of toxins from fat by 3 times. It's actually closer to 4, by the way. It's 3.75, but I'm giving the lower number because I want you to know that the increase is, it is substantial, but at the same time, the protocol has been designed to keep pace with the elimination of those liberated toxins.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the questions. So anybody else want to unmute and chime in?
I want to ask a couple of questions. One is about water, because I'm used to a wood sauna. I'm not really used to the infrared. But I have one coming next week.
Oh,
it will be exciting next week. I'm going to stick it in my front room.
All right.
Yeah, and actually, I'm quite surprised in a way. Well, I think I've been sort of kidding myself all these years because I've been very careful with my health. And I think I scored pretty high on that list of questions that you just read out. I had some mental work done recently, and I had a sort of mild sort of tremor in my body, and I sort of found myself saying to my father, I know what that is. That's all the dental stuff, because I avoid it in the house. I was around somebody who was a big smoker, and even if I think about being with that person and all of his clothes and all of that stuff, even though there's no smoke, I actually feel sick. So I think that score, and in 1997, I took a headache pill, and I can't even remember what it was, but I had such a terrible reaction that I've never taken a headache pill since. So this is a dual thing, really. It's like a bit of a reality check for me to say, oh, there is actually something there. But then the other side of it is that if it can actually help me to have a bit more robust health and to be able to, what I call sort of shoot the breeze, can be around maybe this person who smokes for half an hour or whatever, or an afternoon, that would be so great. But I actually realized I'm very nervous about starting the program. Because I'm not used to the sauna, and I'm not very scientific. So it worries me that I've got these sort of this band of rays. I understand heat, and I like being in the heat, and I like being hot. There's a whole different sort of sci-fi thing that I feel I'm kind of entering into. And I actually realize, if I'm honest, I'm very nervous about it. It feels a bit unknown. And the way I've survived is by simplifying, organic vegetables. I cook them, there's nothing going on with all of that. There's nothing in my home. So I am actually kind of a bit freaked out by the whole thing.
I can totally understand. I do. And, in fact, going all the way back to the water, I was wondering if you were talking about the use of the water in the sauna, because you have a dry sauna where you throw the water on the rocks. Is that where you're going with that?
Sort of hydration, really.
Hydration.
Yeah. Do you recommend particular water or how much? Or
Okay, so definitely stay hydrated while in the sauna. It doesn't matter which kind, if it's a dry sauna or an infrared sauna. But what I have found through years of working with people in my clinics in the center, was using about 16 ounces of water or drinking 16 ounces of water, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was 471 milliliters, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I don't convert very well. Anyway, the 16 ounces of water, which is a typical glass like the one I use all the time, that's perfect per sauna cycle. So, that tends to work very well for most people if they drink at least 16 ounces while in the sauna. And you can keep the glass on the floor, by the way, to keep the heat from making it too hot. But did you know that actually it's better to drink room temperature water or even warmer water than it is to drink cold water? It's actually far superior for your body. Anyway, so now the science fiction or sci-fi aspect is kind of interesting to hear because it's actually more science based. The program itself has 15 studies behind it, and there's actually the 15 are published, and there's plenty more that were not published. But just know that this is the most scientifically validated program ever conceived. And so even though you may not understand the science, that's my job. And, I hope you'd consider working with me as your remote coach to get you through this. But definitely the far infrared sauna is going to produce the right kind of sweat that we need. The dry saunas tend to take longer at higher temperatures to produce actually you can do it at lower temperature, but to produce the type of sweat we need. And to clarify what I mean by that is that your watery eccrine sweat, which comes, as perspiration and what people think of when they think of sweat, is not going to really release these lipophilic or fat-attracted toxins. That's just not the way they're going to go. They're hydrophobic and they don't like water. But when you are in an infrared sauna or a dry sauna at lower temperatures for a longer period, and I'm talking a longer period, then we also melt the sebum in the sebaceous oil glands, and that sebum becomes a liquid or a lipid. I'm sorry, liquid lipid that is going to attract these fat-soluble toxins and then bring them out through a mixture of the eccrine watery sweat and sebaceous sweat. So that's where we got the term sebaceous sweat. And it makes a huge difference. So I'm glad you got the far infrared sauna. I look forward to seeing how well you do with that. But the dry saunas are still good. I just, for convenience and shorter periods of time in the sauna, the far infrared is, superior. So I can tell that there's hesitation there. Just know that we would ramp you up very slowly, making sure that first you get acclimated to the sauna, and then we would introduce the niacin, and it would be at levels that would not do that 3 times liberation. So we would focus on the flush.
Yeah. So maybe I should do that full coaching thing. Initially I thought that, compared to the cost of the sauna, that's like, 25% the cost of the sauna, but it might be that's kind of how I sort of square it internally.
Mhm.
It's that I'm actually, I don't really feel up to doing it by myself.
Right. And if you engage my coaching, I'll be working with you through the startup phase before you even get into the full protocol. It's unlimited support. I work with you every time you do the program and things like that. And, somebody did ask the question about the costs to do this. And I did present that in the previous video, and I'll just repeat what I had there was. It's about $2,800 as the lowest end. So if you were to buy, for example, a Therasage sauna, which in the United States is about $1,299. My coaching is $499 unless you're a group member and you get a discount. So hint, hint. But the other thing is the kit. So the kit is about $230, which is now available in Australia, thank goodness. But the kit's about $230, and that's about the only thing, the binders as well. That's about the only thing you would have to, purchase each time you do the program. My coaching is unlimited, so I'll work with you every time. So $499 is the retail price of my coaching. The sauna is $1,299. You work up to about $2,800 when you add in the kit for, say, 3 to 4 rounds. So it's I know a lot of people, especially with MCS, have tried everything else and just maybe just learned about our program. So, it's a case of resources are low, but my goal here is to help people get beyond that and enjoy a much better quality of life. In fact, the word lifespan, or excuse me, health span, I keep doing that. Health span is the word that I think is the best explanation of what my goals are for people. A much better health span.
Yeah, in fact, I've identified another sort of phobia that I have about this protocol, having avoided pills of every sort, my entire life, even, from a teenager. I made a few exceptions for recreational, obviously. But, essentially, so even the niacin, taking a high dose of anything, it really is a bit frightening given that have that sensitivity.
Mhm.
So I classify every single pill in the same boat as a toxin, basically, in my brain.
I
It's like
see.
a prime I've got.
Yes. So if you don't want the pill form, you can always use the powdered form of niacin. And if your diet is good, then you're able to pretty much avoid a lot of the vitamins. Now, the minerals and electrolytes are going to need to be replenished because we're going to sweat a lot of those out. But again, if you can get powdered forms, you can do it that way. But just know that there's no like pharmaceuticals involved here. It's all supplements and binders. So, but they're for very important purposes. Everything that's used in this program has a specific purpose or multi-purposes. And so it's been very well, developed to make sure we help the detox organs. So all the other organs in the system that are involved with detoxing, as well as making sure that we're not letting the toxins overwhelm the system. So this is very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, hence the hesitation, I think.
Right. But we definitely can work it low and slow. There's no worries there.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, because the other thing is finally that I have the opposite problem to most people, which is my BMI is under. And so, the last thing I want to do is to lose weight,
Understood. I'm glad you brought that up too, if I may. The thing with our program is that we see that this program can be used for weight loss. We don't advertise it that way because, frankly, weight loss is an industry that is very regulated. But what we've actually done here with this program is given your body a reset to your metabolism. And so those who are overweight tend to lose some weight. And those who are underweight tend to regain the BMI that they should be at. So the point here is that it's actually allowing your body to control the weight that it should be. And so this is something that has been well established, but again, we won't be advertising this as a weight control or a weight loss program. That's a whole different animal.
So you've seen that. You've seen people who are underweight, that metabolism kind of right itself.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Oh, that's reassuring.
Yes. In fact, a lot of people say, well, I have no fat on me. I'm very lean because my BMI is so low. And yet they think that there's still not going to be toxins stored in the tissues, but there are. And in fact, they're probably even more concentrated. So, I think for your detox, the way to work this is going to be to go low, slow, and just make sure that everything stays in harmony. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Anybody else want to ask any questions?
Can you speak to the role of brain retraining a bit as a supportive therapy and while doing this for MCS?
So you're talking like the tapping?
Yeah, and like limbic system stuff and like primal trust and Gupta program, stuff like that.
Right. So these are all great adjuncts, but things that, we've not actually incorporated into the program. There's so many things that, we talk to people about, why don't you have this in there? Why don't you have that? The thing is that I want to keep it simple for people as best as possible because this is a structured mechanism. But the thing is that if somebody wants to do, any kind of other programs that are going to help with the lymphatic system, the limbic system, and everything else, usually there's no issue with the combination of these types of therapies. But it's individualized. I do support a lot of those kind of things, but we just don't incorporate them into the main program.
Cool. Thanks, Dan.
Did I see Brian? Did you unmute again for question?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on your comments earlier about the kind of underlying mechanism of the infrared light therapy on the body with the 9.2 microns. Can you talk
9.4.
about what was 9.4?
Yeah.
I'm not up to date on that. Can you just talk a little more about that science, how it actually interacts with the body? You said it's more of a vibrational effect on the cellular membrane, or what?
No, the water molecules under the skin, about 1.5 inches deep under the surface of the skin, resonate with the 9.4 microns and create a vibrational heat. This is well established in the documentation you can find. The thing is that that's the optimal range, whereas we can resonate at different frequencies and wavelengths, but it's a case of 9.4 is the most optimal. So sauna manufacturers, when they're building the far infrared saunas, they tune between 6 and 12 microns on average. That's the far infrared. Now, full spectrum includes near and mid infrared wavelengths as well, but for different purposes. Like near infrared is great for skin rejuvenation and wound healing and things like that. But as far as detox goes, all you really need is far infrared.
Question about the multiple chemical sensitivity. In your experience of treating patients with that, what are the most common presentations of that disorder in terms of the actual sensitivity? Is it chemicals? What are the things that you have seen the most, and how is your this treatment outcomes? What are they?
So great that you're asking, because in all honesty, most centers would not, like if you were to go to a Perspire Sauna Studio or someplace like that, they're not likely going to be MCS friendly. They're going to have scents, and people are going to come in from the street with their fragrances and things like that. This is why I recommend people do this program in the comfort of their own home, their safe space, and get a sauna that is actually better built for MCS, like the Heavenly Heat saunas. Those are absolutely designed for safety and health. And so the Heavenly Heat saunas are going to be more costly than the 2,800 I had mentioned earlier, but they're definitely going to be the most MCS friendly. Sunstream Saunas is another brand that is good for doing the detox. You want to make sure you're getting a sauna that doesn't use any kind of VOC type of chemicals, so anything that could off-gas volatile organic compounds. So that's important. And the sauna manufacturers I recommend are pretty much all that way, with the exception of the portables. Like the Therasage and the Relax saunas are going to have some VOC off-gassing, end of story. You're going to have to deal with that, let it off-gas for maybe a week or so before you actually use it. But just know that the saunas that are in the cabin style, like the ones behind me, those are the brands that I recommend are the ones that have no VOC off-gassing. And also EMFs are a concern for a lot of people. So the manufacturers I work with are all the lowest of EMFs. So those are another issue. But now the symptom presentations definitely are what we know from MCS is that if there's any kind of chemical trigger, the scent or even touching certain surfaces can trigger these responses. But they can be anywhere from severe headaches to complete disability. I mean, it's the type of thing where a person who suffers from MCS can have a range of different responses. And again, they look normal on the outside, but the condition is so debilitating that headache for hours and if not days, can happen, maybe nausea and things like that. So just know that as far as our program goes, if you're in your own safe space or your own home, then you can pretty much knock out most of the factors that would make it difficult for you to do this. And because of my remote coaching, I'm able to use Zoom and Google Sheets for the workbook and do everything where, I'm not interacting with you physically. Therefore, nothing from my body is going to be affecting it. But the thing is that, when you can work with me remotely, it works much better, especially for MCS.
I wanted to discuss a question about the saunas. You mentioned Heavenly Heat and Sunstream. How do those compare in terms of their toxicity levels or off-gassing to the clear light?
So Clear Light is also, in fact, that's a sanctuary too, right behind me. That's another one of the manufacturers I recommend. It tended to be with the Clear Light saunas that in the past, for example, when I was really heavily, I was actually a dealer for them. They were using, cedar, and they were using other woods that had some, smells that could be off-putting to MCS patients. So I've been working mostly with Heavenly Heat lately because they've specifically manufactured their saunas to be friendly for people with MCS. And they're also, one thing about Heavenly Heat is that the original owner, Bob Morgan, sold the business, I guess about a couple of years ago now, to a gentleman by the name of Colin. And Colin has been very, very diligent about improving the saunas so that they are the safest for people. In fact, he puts safest sauna on the market in some of his marketing. It's true. I own the Eco sauna, the ECO or Eco, and there's a video of me assembling that, by the way, that I put in the link of the description of this video as a link in the description. So that is a sauna that I really highly recommend. Unfortunately, I think their Labor Day sale ended yesterday, but they're a good model for this type of condition.
That was it. Was it called the Eco?
Yeah, ECO. It's a one-person sauna, and it's a small footprint. It's less than 3 foot square. And the one thing I like about it is the door is actually in the front, whereas most of these small footprint saunas have the door on the side. And they tend to be about 17 inches wide versus Heavenly Heat's 22-inch wide door, which I like better. But the Eco Sauna is the one that you can see on my Get Detoxinated YouTube channel or my website. There's going to be a link in the description.
Okay, thank you so much. You're
welcome. All right, I've got some new people who've joined us. Anybody want to chime in with questions? We're coming up on, I got 12:52 here.
I can add too. I'm pretty chemically sensitive, and the relax didn't bother me.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah,
Good.
I've been fine with it.
Awesome. The Relax Sauna is the #1 portable. I put Therasage first for cost purposes. So when you hear me talking about these two portable sauna manufacturers, Relax is the #1 of the portables, but the Therasage is the more cost effective. So that's why I tend to talk about it first. Okay.
I can ask another one.
Sure.
And you may have covered this in a past lecture and I forgot, but what do you like for bile flow? Because you referenced that a bit in the presentation.
Yeah, in fact, the detox, or excuse me, the gut terrain reset, the Microbiome Labs products, that's really where I lean on. In fact, my wife has been using the IgG 2000, and she just loves. In fact, my wife is sensitive to so much, and she just absolutely loves their products. So, in fact, that was one of the reasons why I even reached out to Karan, Krishnan, and the microbiomes guy, because he's a very knowledgeable microbiologist who I went through a seminar with him, and frankly was blown away by what I was missing when it comes to the gut terrain, and making sure that a person with leaky gut is able to do this program. So, excuse me, the gut terrain reset, like I said, is $4.99 on our website. And that will allow you to then access those products as through my practitioner link.
Anything specific for the liver, like Tudka or
Mm,
Aquafile or anything, or
Sure.
carboxy products?
Yeah, in fact, although we've never, let me just point out, in the past, when we were doing this through the clinical, occupational medicine clinic, we weren't really terribly concerned about these things like the gut, we make sure that somebody's liver was capable of doing the program, but we weren't really trying to improve the, function of the detox organs and opening up the detox pathways. That's been my main thing these days, is making sure that we're covering those bases, because in a clinical setting, we have the doctor. In the remote detox coaching, I'm basically making sure that these bases are covered. So, like milk thistle, things like that is easily acquired. So I would just say that if you follow the gut terrain reset and the how to open the detox pathways, you're pretty much going to probably be fine to do the program. But I would, if somebody really had kidney or liver disease or damage, they need to have their primary care practitioner bless this.
Makes sense. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, so if nobody else wants to unmute and ask away, then maybe we'll just go ahead and call this a day.